Hyunwoo stepped out of the transport shuttle and looked at his new home for the first time. The small house stood alone at the edge of the colony, surrounded by tall grass that moved gently in the wind. Beyond the grass, dark forests stretched toward purple mountains in the distance. This was New Terra, a planet far from Earth, and this was his fresh start. He had worked for 6 years to save enough money for this moment. Every credit he earned went into his savings account. Every overtime shift at the engineering facility on Earth brought him closer to this dream. Now at 28 years old, he finally owned property. The house was small and simple, made from prefabricated materials that the colony provided to new settlers. But it was his. The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Hyunwoo carried his belongings inside. The house had 3 rooms, a bedroom, a living area, and a small kitchen. Large windows faced the wilderness, offering a view that no amount of money could buy on Earth. He spent hours unpacking his clothes, setting up his computer, and arranging his few possessions. By the time darkness fell, exhaustion had settled deep into his bones. Hyunwoo ate a simple meal of rehydrated food and fell onto his bed without bothering to change clothes. The mattress felt stiff and unfamiliar, but his tired body didn't care. Within minutes, he was asleep. Something woke him in the deep hours of night. He didn't know what at first. His eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the darkness. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the air recycler. Then he saw it. A figure stood at the foot of his bed. Hyunwoo's heart jumped into his throat. He froze, unable to move, unable to breathe. The figure was tall and thin, clearly humanoid, but wrong in ways his tired brain struggled to process. The darkness made details difficult to see, but he could make out elongated limbs that seemed too long for a human body. The head was the right shape, but something about the proportions was off. Then the figure moved slightly, and patterns along its skin began to glow with a soft blue-green light. The luminescence was faint like distant stars, creating delicate lines that traced across what he assumed was its body. Large eyes reflected the moonlight coming through the window, shining like an animal's eyes caught in headlights. Hyunwoo wanted to scream. He wanted to jump out of bed and run, but terror held him motionless. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The figure tilted its head, studying him with those reflective eyes. They stared at each other for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Then the figure simply vanished. One moment it was there, solid and real. The next moment, nothing. The glowing patterns disappeared as if someone had switched off a light. Hyunwoo blinked hard, wondering if his eyes were playing tricks. He sat up quickly, reaching for the light controls on the wall panel. Bright artificial light flooded the room, revealing nothing unusual. He was alone. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. Hyunwoo threw off his blankets and searched the entire house, turning on every light. He checked the front door, locked from the inside just as he had left it. The windows were sealed shut. The back door remained secured. There was no possible way anyone could have entered or left. He stood in his living room, breathing hard, trying to make sense of what happened. Had he been dreaming? The image of those glowing patterns and reflective eyes remained vivid in his mind, too detailed to be a dream. But the alternative, that something had actually been in his room, seemed impossible. Eventually, exhaustion won over fear. Hyunwoo convinced himself it must have been a hallucination, brought on by tiredness and the stress of moving to a new planet. He had heard stories about colonists experiencing strange dreams during their first nights on new worlds, something about the different day-night cycles affecting sleep patterns. That must be it. He returned to bed but left a small light on in the hallway. Sleep came slowly this time, and his dreams were filled with shadows and glowing patterns. Morning arrived with bright sunlight streaming through his windows. Hyunwoo woke to the cheerful sounds of birds, or whatever passed for birds on New Terra, singing outside. In the daylight, his fears from the night seemed ridiculous. He laughed at himself while making breakfast, shaking his head at how his imagination had run wild. He spent the day exploring his property and meeting neighbors. The nearest house was about 1 kilometer away, belonging to a woman named Ji-won. She was older than him, maybe in her late 30s, with kind eyes and an easy smile. She worked as a xenobiologist studying New Terra's ecosystem. "Welcome to the neighborhood," Ji-won said, offering him a container of homemade kimchi. "I know it's not much of a neighborhood with houses so far apart, but we colonists have to stick together." Hyunwoo accepted the gift gratefully. They talked for a while about the colony, the work opportunities, and life on New Terra. Ji-won had been here for 5 years and seemed to love it. The wilderness can be a bit unsettling at first, she warned. Strange sounds at night, unfamiliar shadows. Your mind plays tricks when you're surrounded by alien nature, but you get used to it. Her words made Hyunwoo feel better about his experience the previous night. See, just his mind adjusting to a new environment. Nothing supernatural or impossible. That evening, he ate dinner while watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple that Earth never quite managed. He felt content. This was going to be a good life. He went to bed early, determined to establish a proper sleep schedule. The mattress felt more comfortable on the second night. His eyes closed easily and sleep came quickly. At 3 a.m, Hyunwoo woke again. The figure stood in the exact same spot at the foot of his bed. Those glowing patterns traced along her skin, and somehow he knew it was female now, though he couldn't explain why. Those reflective eyes watched him steadily. This was no dream. This was no hallucination. Something impossible was happening in Hyunwoo's new home, and it was happening again. The second night, Hyunwoo forced himself to stay calm. He sat up slowly in bed, keeping his movements small and non-threatening. The glowing figure remained at the foot of his bed, watching him with those strange, reflective eyes. He could see her more clearly now that he knew to expect her. She was definitely female in her basic shape, though her proportions were different from human women. Her limbs were longer and more slender. Her fingers appeared to have an extra joint. The bioluminescent patterns across her skin pulsed gently, like a slow heartbeat, creating swirls and lines that reminded him of traditional Korean painting techniques, beautiful in an alien way. "Hello?" Hyunwoo whispered, his voice shaking slightly. The figure tilted her head again, that same curious gesture from the night before. Then she vanished exactly as she had done previously, one moment present, the next moment gone, leaving no trace she had ever been there. Hyunwoo didn't search the house this time. He knew he wouldn't find anything. Instead, he lay back down, staring at the ceiling until morning light crept through his windows. His mind raced with possibilities. Was she real? Was he going crazy? Should he report this to colony security? On the third night, she appeared again. This time, she stood closer to the side of his bed. Hyunwoo noticed she seemed interested in the items on his nightstand. A photo of his family back on Earth, a small plant in a ceramic pot, his water bottle. Her head moved as she examined each object, though she didn't touch anything. The fourth night, she walked slowly around his room. Her movements were graceful, almost floating. She paused at his bookshelf, studying the titles. She looked at his clothes hanging in the open closet. She spent a long time staring at a poster he had put up showing Earth's moon. Hyunwoo tried different things to understand what was happening. He set up his computer to record video, but when he checked the footage in the morning, the files were corrupted, showing only static. He installed extra locks on all his doors and windows, but she appeared inside his room anyway. He tried staying awake all night, forcing his eyes to stay open, but somehow he always fell asleep right before 3 a.m, and when he woke, she was already there. By the 5th night, fear had transformed into frustration. Hyunwoo decided he needed to tell someone, even if they thought he was insane. The next morning, he walked to Ji-won's house and knocked on her door. Ji-won invited him in for tea. Her home was filled with scientific equipment, specimen containers, and books about New Terra's flora and fauna. They sat at her kitchen table, and Hyunwoo explained everything. He expected her to laugh or look at him with concern, suggesting he visit the colony's medical center. Instead, Ji-won listened carefully, her expression growing more serious with each detail. "What does she look like exactly?" Ji-won asked when he finished. "The patterns on her skin, what color are they?" "Blue-green, like a kind of glowing turquoise," Hyunwoo said. They pulse slowly, and her eyes reflect light like a cat's eyes. Ji-won stood up and walked to her bookshelf. She pulled out a folder marked with a red classification stamp that read "Restricted." She hesitated, then opened it and showed him a blurry photograph. Hyunwoo's breath caught. The image quality was poor, clearly taken from a distance with a long-range camera, but it showed a figure that matched his description almost perfectly. Tall, slender, with those same elongated proportions and glowing skin patterns. "What is this?" Hyunwoo asked. "Something the colony administration doesn't want people to know about," Ji-won said quietly. When I first arrived 5 years ago, I was part of the initial biological survey team. We found evidence of a sentient species native to New Terra, tool marks on trees, arranged stones that appeared to have ceremonial purposes, unusual patterns of animal behavior that suggested intelligent management. She sat back down, her voice dropping even lower. We reported our findings to the administration. Director Taeyang ordered us to classify everything and stop our investigation. He said if we confirmed sentient native life, the entire colonization project would be shut down. Planets with intelligent species are protected by interstellar law. Humans aren't allowed to settle on them, but that's good, isn't it? Hyunwoo said. If there are native people here, we should protect them. I agree, Ji-won said. But the administration has billions of credits invested in this colony. They don't want to give it up. So officially, there are no native intelligent beings on New Terra. Anyone who suggests otherwise gets transferred off-planet or loses their research funding. Hyunwoo looked at the photograph again. So she's real. She's actually real, and she's been coming to my house every night. Your house, Ji-won said slowly. Where exactly is it located? At the edge of the colony near the forest line. Ji-won pulled out a map of the colony and surrounding area. She pointed to a marked spot. Before the colony was built, this entire region showed the highest concentration of those ceremonial stone arrangements I mentioned. We thought it might be a sacred site or gathering place. Your house was built right on top of it. The pieces began falling into place in Hyunwoo's mind. She wasn't attacking him. She wasn't trying to scare him. She was visiting a place that had meaning to her people. A place that humans had built over without asking permission or even acknowledging that anyone else might have a claim to it. That evening, Hyunwoo prepared for her arrival differently. He didn't try to set up cameras or locks. Instead, he sat up in bed, waiting. He left the small hallway light on so the room wasn't completely dark. On his nightstand, he placed a sheet of paper and a pen. At 3 a.m, she appeared. This time, instead of fear or frustration, Hyunwoo felt something closer to guilt. He had moved into her sacred place without knowing, disturbing something important. Hello, he said softly, trying to keep his voice calm and friendly. I know you can understand something, even if we don't speak the same language. I'm sorry. I didn't know this place was important to you. The glowing figure stood very still. Those reflective eyes focused on him intently. Slowly, carefully, Hyunwoo picked up the paper and pen. He drew a simple picture, a stick figure of himself and a stick figure of her with a question mark between them. He held it up for her to see. For the first time since these encounters began, she didn't disappear immediately. Instead, she moved closer. She looked at his drawing, then at him, then back at the drawing. Her head tilted in that curious way again. Then she did something that changed everything. She reached out one long-fingered hand and gently touched the paper. The alien woman's finger traced the drawing on the paper, moving slowly across the stick figures Hyunwoo had sketched. Her touch was light and careful. When she pulled her hand back, a faint glowing mark remained on the paper where she had touched it. The mark faded after a few seconds, but the gesture's meaning was clear. She was communicating. Hyunwoo's heart raced with excitement rather than fear now. He grabbed the pen and drew another picture. This time he sketched his house, simple squares for rooms. Then he drew her stick figure standing outside the house near trees. He pointed at her, then at the drawing, then at the floor beneath them. She watched carefully. After a moment, she reached forward and placed her finger on the area around the house in his drawing. The glowing touch lingered there. Then she made a gesture with her hands, moving them in a sweeping motion that seemed to indicate a large space. This was your place, Hyunwoo said, understanding. Before we built here, this was your place. She didn't respond with words, but something in her posture suggested agreement. They continued like this for over an hour. Hyunwoo would draw, she would respond with touches or gestures. He learned that she came alone, not with a group. He learned that she had been watching the colony for a long time. He learned that she was curious about humans, but also cautious. When the first light of dawn began to color the sky, she stepped back. For the first time, she made a sound, a soft, melodic tone that might have been words in her language. Then she vanished as she always did. Hyunwoo sat in his bed, holding the papers covered with drawings and fading, glowing marks. Something incredible was happening. He was making first contact with an intelligent alien species, and he needed help. The next morning, he went to Ji-won's house before she left for work. He brought all the drawings and explained what had happened. Ji-won's eyes grew wide as she examined the papers. "This is remarkable," she breathed. "Hyunwoo, do you understand what this means? You're actually communicating with her. We need better tools." She disappeared into her storage room and emerged with a small electronic device. This is a basic translation interface. It's designed to analyze sounds and attempt to find patterns that might represent language. I used it in my field research, though I never got to use it on anything truly sentient. That evening, Hyunwoo set up the device on his nightstand. Ji-won had shown him how to use it, though she warned that it might take many sessions before it could identify any meaningful patterns. When the alien woman appeared at 3 a.m, she noticed the device immediately. Her eyes focused on it and she moved closer to examine it. Hyunwoo pointed at himself. "Hyunwoo," he said clearly. Then he pointed at her and raised his eyebrows in question. She made that melodic sound again, longer this time. The translation device recorded it, lights blinking as it processed the audio. On the small screen, symbols appeared, but they made no sense yet. "I need to call you something," Hyunwoo said. He thought for a moment, looking at the way her bioluminescent patterns glowed in the darkness. "Dal, it means moon in my language." "Is that okay?" She tilted her head, watching him. He repeated the word, pointing at her. "Dal." After a moment, she pointed at herself and made an attempt to mimic the sound. It came out slightly different, but close enough. "Dal," she said in her melodic voice. Hyunwoo smiled widely. "Yes, Dal." From that night forward, their communication improved steadily. The translation device slowly built up a database of sounds and meanings. Dal proved to be a quick learner, understanding the basic purpose of pointing, nodding, and shaking one's head for yes and no. She taught him some of her people's gestures in return. Within 2 weeks, they could have simple exchanges. The device wasn't perfect, often producing fragmented or unclear translations, but combined with gestures and drawings, they managed to share ideas. Hyunwoo learned that Dal's people were called something the device translated as light walkers, or luminari. They were few in number, perhaps only a few hundred remaining on the entire planet. They had lived on New Terra for thousands of years, developing a deep connection with the land and its creatures. When humans arrived and began building the colony, the luminari had watched from hiding. They saw the massive ships landing. They saw the forests being cleared. They saw their sacred sites bulldozed to make room for human structures. And they were afraid. "We thought you would destroy everything," Dal said one night, the translation device stuttering through her words. "Your machines are so loud. You changed the land so quickly. We discussed whether to reveal ourselves or to hide forever." "Why did you decide to visit me?" Hyunwoo asked. Dal gestured at the floor. "This place? Very important. My ancestors gathered here when the 3 moons aligned. It is where we remember the old ways. I wanted to see what the humans built here. I wanted to understand why you take without asking." Hyunwoo felt a deep shame settle in his chest. "We didn't know. They told us this planet had no intelligent life. We were lied to. Or you wanted to believe the lie," Dal said quietly. The translation device made her tone hard to read, but Hyunwoo sensed sadness rather than anger. He told her everything Ji-won had explained about the colony administration's cover-up. He told her about the interstellar laws that protected planets with sentient species. He told her that not all humans agreed with what was being done. "What will you do with this knowing?" Dal asked. "I want to help," Hyunwoo said. "I want to make this right. But I need to understand more. Will you teach me about your people? Will you trust me enough to show me the truth?" Dal was silent for a long time. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed slowly, and Hyunwoo wondered if this was how her people showed deep thought. Finally, she spoke. "My people will not agree. They think all humans are the same. They think you only want to take and destroy. I'm just one person," Hyunwoo admitted. "I can't speak for all humans, but I can promise that I will listen. I will learn, and I will try to help however I can." Dal looked at him with those reflective eyes. "Why, this is not your problem. You could ignore what you know. You could live in your house and never think about whose sacred ground you stand on." Hyunwoo thought about his answer carefully. "Because it's wrong. Because you made me see that this place isn't just mine because I paid money for it. Because a true home is built on respect, not theft." Another long silence filled the room. Then Dal reached out her hand toward him, palm up. It was a gesture of her people, Ji-won's research had shown, an offering of trust. Hyun-woo reached out and gently placed his hand over hers. Her skin felt cool and smooth, and the bioluminescent patterns glowed brighter where they touched. "I will show you," Dal said. "I will teach you about the Luminari. But you must be ready. What you learn may force you to choose between your people and mine." "I understand," Hyun-woo said, though he wasn't sure he truly did. What he did understand was that his simple plan to start a quiet life on a colony world had transformed into something far more important and far more dangerous. Over the following weeks, Dal taught Hyun-woo about her people in careful lessons that stretched through the night hours. He learned that the Luminari experienced time differently than humans. They could enter a state that was not quite sleep, where they became translucent and nearly invisible. This was how Dal appeared and disappeared so mysteriously. "We become one with light," Dal explained through the improving translation device. "We are here, but we are also not here. It is difficult to explain in your language." She showed him how to recognize signs of Luminari presence in the forest. Certain arrangements of stones marked gathering places. Specific patterns carved into tree bark were messages or warnings. The Luminari had lived quietly alongside nature for millennia, leaving gentle traces rather than permanent structures. "We take only what we need," Dal said. "We give back more than we take. This is the way of balance." Hyun-woo shared what he knew about human culture and technology. He explained why people came to colony worlds, seeking opportunities that Earth could no longer provide. He showed her pictures of Earth's overcrowded cities, its struggling ecosystems, its desperate need to expand into space. "Your people are dying on your homeworld?" Dal asked, her tone holding something like sympathy. "Not dying exactly," Hyun-woo said, "but struggling. Too many people, not enough resources. We had to find other places to live." "And so you take from others who have nowhere else to go," Dal said softly. It wasn't an accusation, just a sad observation. The words stung because they were true. Ji-won became an essential part of their secret collaboration. She provided better translation tools, helped interpret Luminari concepts that didn't have human equivalents, and carefully documented everything Hyun-woo learned. But she also brought troubling news. "The colony administration is getting suspicious," Ji-won told Hyun-woo one afternoon. They sat in her living room while she showed him files on her computer. "Director Tae-yang has been asking questions about increased power usage in your sector. They think someone might be running unauthorized research equipment." "The translation device?" Hyun-woo asked. "Probably. And I've heard rumors that they're planning to expand the colony boundaries. They want to clear more forest, build more housing units. If they push deeper into Luminari territory, conflict becomes inevitable." Hyun-woo felt anger rising in his chest. "Can't we stop them? Can't we tell someone what's really happening here?" "Tell who?" Ji-won asked. "The colonial government works for the same people who want this colony to succeed. They've invested billions. They won't listen to two colonists who claim there's intelligent alien life that would threaten their profits." "What about the interstellar authorities? The ones who made the protection laws?" Ji-won pulled up another file. "I've been researching that. The laws are clear. If a planet has sentient native species, it must be protected. But you need proof. Strong, undeniable proof. Testimony from colonists isn't enough. We would need genetic evidence, cultural artifacts, recorded language samples, documented tool use, proof of abstract reasoning." "I can get that," Hyun-woo said. "Dal trusts me. She's teaching me everything." "And then what?" Ji-won asked seriously. "Let's say we gather all the evidence we need. Let's say we manage to transmit it to the interstellar authorities before the administration shuts us down. Do you know what happens next?" Hyun-woo shook his head. "The colony gets dissolved. Everyone here loses their homes, their investments, their fresh start. Thousands of humans who came here hoping for better lives get sent back to Earth with nothing, including you and me." The weight of that reality settled on Hyun-woo's shoulders. He had been so focused on helping the Luminari that he hadn't fully considered the human cost. "But if we do nothing," he said slowly, "the Luminari lose their home. Their sacred sites get destroyed. Their whole way of life disappears." "That's wrong too." "I know," Ji-won said quietly. "There's no easy answer." That night, Hyun-woo talked with Dal about the dilemma. She listened carefully as he explained the human perspective. The colonists who had come seeking better lives. "I understand their need," Dal said, "but understanding does not make our loss smaller. My people have already decided, Hyun-woo. We will leave these lands. We will go deeper into the wild places where your people have not yet reached. We will hide and hope that one day the humans will leave. That's not right either, Hyunwoo said firmly. This is your planet, your home. Why should you be the ones to leave? Because you are many and we are few, Dal said simply. Because your weapons are strong and ours are not. Because you have already shown you do not care about our sacred places. We cannot win against you, so we will disappear. What if there was another way? Hyunwoo asked. What if we could prove to the rest of humanity that you deserve protection? What if we could make them understand? Dal's bioluminescent patterns flickered uncertainly. My elder Yunbi says humans cannot be trusted. She says you will take everything and give nothing back. She says trying to communicate with you will only bring danger to our people. Is that what you believe? Dal looked at him for a long moment. I did believe it, but you have shown me something different. You listen. You learn. You care about the sacred ground beneath your feet. Perhaps not all humans are the same. An idea began forming in Hyunwoo's mind. It was risky, possibly foolish, but it might be the only way to save both the luminary and give the human colonists a chance to prove they could do better. What if we documented everything? He said. Your language, your culture, your intelligence. What if we showed the interstellar authorities that the luminari are sentient beings who deserve protection? That would end your colony, Dal said. Maybe. Or maybe it would force us to find a better way. A way where humans and luminari can share this world. Dal's patterns pulsed rapidly, a sign of strong emotion that Hyunwoo had learned to recognize. You would give up your home to save mine? It's not giving up, Hyunwoo said. It's doing what's right. Besides, maybe we can find a solution where nobody has to give up their home. Yunbi will never agree to this, Dal warned. She will say I am foolish for trusting you. She will say we should hide and survive, not expose ourselves to danger. Then let me talk to her, Hyunwoo said. Let me show your people that some humans can be trusted. Dal was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I will ask. But I promise nothing. 3 nights later, Dal appeared with news. Yunbi has agreed to meet you. But only you, not the other human. And you must come to our place, not us to yours. When? Hyunwoo asked. Tomorrow night, when the largest moon rises. I will guide you. Hyunwoo felt excitement and fear mixing in his stomach. He would be the first human to enter a luminary settlement. The first to meet them openly as a friend rather than an invader. He told Jiwon about the meeting. She looked worried but helped him prepare. She gave him a small recording device disguised as a jacket button. Document everything you can, she said. But be careful. If the administration finds out what you're doing, there will be consequences. I know, Hyunwoo said. That night, he could barely sleep. Tomorrow would change everything one way or another. The largest moon rose over New Terra, casting silver light across the forest. Hyunwoo stood at the edge of his property, wearing his jacket with a hidden recording device. His heart pounded as Dal emerged from the tree line, her bioluminescent patterns glowing softly in the darkness. Are you ready? She asked through the small translation device he carried in his pocket. Yes, Hyunwoo said, though he wasn't sure that was true. Dal led him into the forest along paths he couldn't see. She moved with confidence through the darkness while he stumbled over roots and rocks. After about an hour of walking, they entered a clearing where the moonlight filtered through a natural break in the canopy. At first, Hyunwoo saw nothing unusual. Then figures began to appear, emerging from that translucent state Dal had explained. One by one, luminari materialized in the clearing. Their glowing patterns created a constellation of living light. There were perhaps 30 of them, all watching him with those reflective eyes. An older luminari stepped forward. Her patterns were more intricate than Dal's, suggesting age and status. Her movements carried authority. I am Yunbi, she said, her words coming through the translation device in a slow, careful cadence. Dal says you wish to help our people. Explain why we should trust you. Hyunwoo took a breath. I can't speak for all humans. I can only speak for myself. I didn't know this was your world when I came here. I was told it was empty. I learned the truth because Dal chose to reveal herself to me. Now I know what's happening here is wrong. Wrong, Yunbi repeated. You humans have many words for things you do anyway. You say taking is wrong, but you take. You say destroying is wrong, but you destroy. Your words mean nothing. You're right, Hyunwoo said, surprising them. Words alone mean nothing. Actions are what matter. That's why I'm here. I want to help you document your culture, your language, your intelligence. I want to prove to the authorities beyond this colony that you deserve protection. Murmurs spread through the gathered luminari. Their patterns flickered and pulsed in what seemed like conversation, though Hyunwoo couldn't understand the light language. And what happens to you if you do this? Yunbi asked. Your colony ends. Your home is taken away. Why would you sacrifice for strangers? Because it's not my home if it's built on injustice, Hyunwoo said. My people have a saying, a house built on sand will fall. I think a home built on theft will never bring peace. Another luminary spoke up, younger than Yunbi but with complex patterns. How do we know this isn't a trick? How do we know you don't work for those who lead your colony, trying to learn our secrets so they can hunt us more easily? It was a fair question. Hyunwoo pulled out the translation device and his personal computer. I'll show you everything I plan to do. I'll show you the evidence I'll gather. You can decide what information to share and what to keep private. This has to be your choice, not mine. For hours they talked. Hyunwoo explained the interstellar protection laws in detail. He showed them examples of other planets where native species had been successfully protected. He outlined what kind of proof would be needed: genetic samples, language documentation, evidence of abstract art or religious practices, tool creation and use. The humans who make these laws, they are different from the humans here, one luminary asked. Some of them, Hyunwoo said honestly, but some are probably the same. That's why the evidence has to be overwhelming. It has to be impossible to deny or dismiss. Yunbi studied him for a long time. You are strange for a human. You admit weakness. You speak truth that does not benefit you. Either you are very wise or very foolish. Probably foolish, Hyunwoo admitted, but I have to try. Finally, Yunbi made a gesture that the other luminari seemed to understand. The gathering began to disperse, fading back into their translucent state. Only Yunbi, Dal, and two other luminari remained visible. We will allow this, Yunbi said, but there are rules. First, only you. No other humans learn of us until we say. Second, we show you only what we choose. Our most sacred knowledge remains ours. Third, if we see danger, we stop everything and disappear. You agree to these rules? I agree, Hyunwoo said. Then we begin tomorrow. Dal will bring you here again. Over the next 3 weeks, Hyunwoo spent every night with the luminari. They taught him their language, which was actually 2 languages. One spoken with melodic tones and one expressed through the bioluminescent patterns on their skin. He learned about their art, intricate carvings on stones that looked natural until you knew how to see them. He learned about their technology, which was subtle and biological rather than mechanical. Most importantly, he recorded everything. The hidden device in his jacket captured hours of footage and audio. He documented their tools made from shaped plant fibers and carved stones. He recorded their songs, which told stories going back thousands of years. He gathered samples of their written language, symbols that glowed briefly on special leaves before fading. Ji-won helped him organize the evidence, creating databases and cross-references. She was shocked by the depth of luminari culture. This is incredible, she said, looking through the recordings. They have mathematics, astronomy, philosophy. Their understanding of New Terra's ecosystem is more advanced than anything we've learned in 5 years of study. Can we prove it? Hyunwoo asked. Is this enough? Ji-won nodded slowly. It's enough to prove sentience. It's enough to trigger protection protocols. But Hyunwoo, once we send this out, there's no taking it back. The administration will know what we did. There will be consequences. I know. They needed a way to transmit the information that couldn't be blocked or intercepted by the colony administration. Ji-won had a solution. A journalist named Hana who worked for an independent news service off-world. Hana had been investigating rumors of corruption in the New Terra colony for months. They met Hana in secret, in a maintenance tunnel beneath the colony. She was younger than Hyunwoo expected, probably in her mid-20s, with sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Show me what you have, Hana said, getting straight to business. They showed her everything. Hana's eyes grew wider with each piece of evidence. When they finished, she sat back and let out a long breath. This is massive, she said. This will shut down the colony. You know that, right? We know, Hyunwoo said. And you're willing to lose everything for this? It's not everything, Hyunwoo said. 'Cause it's the right thing to do. Hana smiled slightly. I like you. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Okay, I'll help. But we need to be smart about this. If we just dump the evidence publicly, The administration will claim it's fake. We need to send it to the right people in the right order. She outlined a plan. First, they would send the evidence to the Interstellar Ethics Committee, the official body that governed colonial expansion. Second, they would simultaneously release it to multiple news organizations across different systems. Third, they would include testimony from Ji-Wan as a xenobiologist, giving the findings scientific credibility. What about me? Hyun-Woo asked. You'll be the human face of the story, Hana said. The colonist who chose to do the right thing even when it cost him everything. People respond to that. I don't want to be famous, Hyun-Woo protested. Too bad, Hana said. If we're going to protect the Luminary, we need public support. That means giving the story a hero. You're it. They set a date for the transmission 1 week away. That gave Hana time to set up secure channels and prepare the release. It gave Hyun-Woo time to say goodbye to the quiet life he had imagined on New Terra. On the 6th night, Hyun-Woo sat with Dal in his house. Their communication had become easy now, almost natural. The translation device was barely needed anymore. Why are you doing this? Dal asked. I still don't fully understand. Hyun-Woo thought about his answer. When you first came to my bed, I was afraid. Then curious. Then I realized something. This place isn't my home because I bought it. It's home because you shared it with me. Because you trusted me. A real home is built on respect and understanding, not on ownership and exclusion. Dal's patterns glowed warmly. You are a strange human, Hyun-Woo, but I am glad you are the first one I chose to trust. Tomorrow everything would change. 6 months had passed since the day the Luminary emerged from the forest. New Terra looked different now, transformed by compromise and cooperation rather than conquest. Hyun-Woo stood on the porch of his house, watching the sunrise paint the sky in familiar colors. But the view had changed. Where once only human structures dotted the landscape, now Luminary dwellings rose between them, organic structures that seemed to grow from the land itself, rather than being imposed upon it. The Interstellar Ethics Committee had spent weeks investigating before making their decision. New Terra would not be shut down. Instead, it would become something unprecedented. A shared world. A cohabitation zone where humans and Luminary would learn to live together. Director Tai-Young and several other administration officials had been arrested and sent off-world to face charges. The colony needed new leadership. To Hyun-Woo's surprise, the committee had suggested him for an advisory role. He had declined anything too official, preferring to stay exactly where he was. His house had taken on new meaning. Built on Luminary sacred ground, it had become the first human Luminary cultural exchange center. Humans came to learn about the Luminary. Luminary came to understand humans. And in the evenings, when both species gathered to share meals and stories, the old divisions seemed a little less solid. Ji-Wan had been promoted to chief xenobiologist for the colony, working directly with Luminary elders to document their extensive knowledge of New Terra's ecosystem. She spent her days learning things that human science would have taken decades to discover alone. Their understanding of the planet is incredible, she told Hyun-Woo one afternoon. They know which plants can purify water, which animals indicate weather changes, how to farm without depleting the soil. We've been stumbling around in the dark while they had the map all along. Hana had won awards for her journalism. Her coverage of the Luminary story had sparked debates across human space about colonial ethics. Some praised the new approach. Others criticized it as weakness. But the conversation was happening, and that was progress. Dae-Hyun had been placed in charge of colony security. Her first act was to establish joint human Luminary patrols, teaching both species to protect their shared home together. It wasn't always smooth. Cultural misunderstandings happened daily. But they were learning. The Luminary had their own adjustments to make. Yoonbi had been skeptical at first, watching the humans carefully for any sign of betrayal. But slowly, she began to see that some humans truly wanted to coexist peacefully. You were right to trust him, Yoonbi told Dal one evening. They sat in the cultural center with Hyun-Woo, planning a joint festival to celebrate both species' traditions. This one human made a difference. He showed others that there was another way. Not just him, Dal said, looking at Hyun-Woo with those reflective eyes that he had once feared. Many humans chose to help when they knew the truth. That is what gives me hope. The joint festivals had become regular events. Humans learned luminary songs and tried to replicate the light language with specially designed technology. Luminari tasted human food and laughed at how much seasoning humans needed to enjoy their meals. Children of both species played together, creating games that mixed both cultures. On one such festival night, Hyunwoo found himself sitting with Dal under the 3 moons of New Terra. The largest moon, the one Dal had appeared beneath on their first real conversation, shone brightly. "Do you regret it?" Dal asked. "You lost the quiet life you came here for. You are known throughout the galaxy now. People come to visit and interrupt your peace." Hyunwoo thought about the question. "I came here wanting to own a piece of land, to have something that was mine. I thought that was what home meant. But you taught me something different." "What did I teach you?" Dal asked. "That home isn't about ownership. It's about belonging. It's about the people or beings you share it with. I don't own this land anymore. The colony doesn't own it. It belongs to all of us, and we belong to it. That's better than what I originally wanted." Dal's bioluminescent patterns glowed warmly, creating intricate designs that Hyunwoo had learned meant happiness and contentment. "You know, when I first visited your bed all those months ago, I came as a guardian. I came to watch over sacred ground that humans had violated. I expected to find nothing but destruction and greed. What did you find instead?" Hyunwoo asked. "I found you. One person willing to listen. One person willing to change. One person who chose to do the right thing even when it cost him everything." She paused, her patterns shifting to a design he didn't recognize. "You showed me that humans are not all the same. You are capable of great harm, yes, but also great good. That is worth remembering." "The same is true of all people," Hyunwoo said. "Luminari are human. We all have the capacity for both. It's the choices we make that matter." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the moons cross the sky. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of the festival. Human music blending with luminary songs. Laughter in multiple languages. The noise of community being built one conversation at a time. A group of children ran past. 3 human kids and 2 young luminari, playing some complicated game that seemed to involve a lot of running and glowing patterns. They spoke to each other in a mixture of languages, creating their own hybrid way of communicating. "That is the future," Dal said, nodding toward the children. "They do not carry the history of conflict that we do. They only see friends and playmates." "Maybe that's how it should be," Hyunwoo said. Jiwon walked over, carrying 2 drinks. She handed one to Hyunwoo and raised her own in a toast. "To the man who moved to a new home and found a whole new world instead." "To all of us," Hyunwoo corrected. "Everyone who chose to build something better." Dal raised her hand in the luminari gesture of celebration. Jiwon and Hyunwoo mimicked it, their human hands looking clumsy compared to Dal's graceful movement. But the meaning was clear. Later that night, after the festival had ended and most people had gone to their homes, Hyunwoo and Dal remained on his porch. It had become their habit, these late-night conversations that stretched into early morning. "I have something to tell you," Dal said. "The Luminari elders have made a decision. We are building a new dwelling near your house. It will be mine." "You're moving closer?" Hyunwoo asked, surprised and pleased. "I am moving here," Dal clarified. "Next to you. Gunbi says that since I was the first to trust humans, I should be the bridge between our peoples. She says this is where I belong now." Hyunwoo smiled. "I like that. Though you should know you don't have to visit my bed at 3 in the morning anymore. You can just knock on the door." Dal's patterns flickered and what he had learned was luminari laughter. "That was never about visiting your bed specifically. That was about the sacred ground beneath it. But I will knock from now on. Human customs about nighttime visits seem very particular." "We're particular about a lot of things," Hyunwoo admitted. "You'll get used to it. And you will get used to luminari ways," Dal said. "We are both learning. That is what makes this work." A shooting star crossed the sky above them. On Earth, people made wishes on shooting stars. Hyunwoo didn't know if the luminari had a similar tradition, but he made a wish anyway. He wished for this fragile peace to hold. He wished for both species to continue learning from each other. He wished for a future where the children playing together tonight would never know the conflicts their parents had faced. "What are you thinking?" Dal asked. "I'm thinking about how I came here looking for isolation and found community instead. How I wanted to escape from people and ended up helping to bridge 2 entire species. How nothing turned out the way I planned, but somehow it's better than what I imagined." "That is very human," Dal observed. Always planning, then being surprised when life goes differently. What about Luminari? Don't you plan? We flow, Dal said. We adapt. We believe that the universe has patterns, and we must learn to move with them rather than against them. You humans try to force the universe to match your plans. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you must learn to flow instead. Maybe you can teach us that, Hyunwoo said. Maybe we can teach each other many things. Dal replied. The first light of dawn began to brighten the horizon. A new day was beginning on New Terra. Somewhere in the colony, human farmers were waking to tend their crops using techniques the Luminari had taught them. Somewhere in the forest, Luminari gatherers were preparing to use human tools that made their work easier. Somewhere in the cultural center, translators were working to create a shared language that both species could use. It wasn't perfect. There were still arguments and misunderstandings. There were still people on both sides who didn't trust the other species. Change was slow and sometimes painful, but it was happening. Hyunwoo looked at his house, the building that had started everything. Sacred luminary ground that humans had built upon without asking. It should have been a symbol of conflict and theft. Instead, it had become a bridge. A place where an uninvited guest had come to his bed and changed both their worlds. You know what's funny? Hyunwoo said. 6 months ago, if someone told me an alien woman was visiting my bed every night, I would have thought I was going crazy. And now? Dal asked. Now I can't imagine my life without these visits. Without you. Without all of this.